The Fundamental Role of Gratitude in Medical Profession by Dr. Andrew Iraniha.
Just wanted to make sure they know that PHTech or Patient Health Professional Experience Project is offering, restoring the humanity back into medicine, compassion, connection, care, and kindness. And by doing that, we are trying to create experience for not only patients, but also ourselves as health professionals. Because in my opinion, these two are absolutely connected to each other. They actually promote each other, they enhance one another. And the concept is based on two things, is that every one of us has some goodness inside of us. And in order to reach to that point of creating that experience for us and our patient, we need to work on ourselves. So it's all about self-growth and self-development. So as part of that, as I promised before, this year we'll try to work on subjects that related to our personal growth. And one of them is gratitude. So today I wanted to read two letters of gratitude that I wrote last week. One is going to be at the beginning of my talk, and then the other one is going to be at the end. So I'm going to start with this letter. It was Saturday, November 16th, 2013. I was driving my son, who was extremely sick, to the emergency room. He was ill for almost a week with high fever and unclear source. Regular treatment did not work, and he was getting sicker and weaker every day. I was extremely furious and had unbelievable, horrific thoughts about his illness. The possibility of worst imaginable problems occurred to me and made me feel extremely desperate, vulnerable, lonely, and scared. In the midst of all, he opened his extremely tired but beautiful and innocent eyes and asked me with a very weak voice, "Dad, do I have cancer? Am I going to die?" I don't know how I kept my composure at that moment and did not burst into tears. After all, I needed to be strong for him and show him that I had his back and I was going to take care of him. So with all the power that I had left in me, I held my poise and put my sweaty and cold hands on his feverish, burning forehead and told him that he would be okay. In that moment, my personal goals and future, my fortune and wealth, my health and status in life did not even matter to me. I'd rather lose everything and have my son's health back. That day in the hospital, as the parent of sick child, I experienced so many new and complex emotions. I was standing on the other side of the equation, not as the giver, but as the recipient of medical care. That day, I realized how powerful my profession is in changing lives and how incredibly crucial is the way we care our patients. The process of his treatment took more than 14 months, and after many procedures and multiple surgeons in different hospitals, finally he fully recovered. My family and I went through a long process of extreme pain, suffering, disappointment, desperation, and so many dark days before we were able to recover. In that journey, I was able to experience firsthand the powerful effect of healthcare system and the health professionals on patients and their family. This experience consists of so many mixed stories of compassionate, and caring health professionals, as well as indifferent and unkind system and individuals. But now that it has been more than a year from his recovery, what has left in my heart and memory is the incredible stories of individuals who helped me and my family on those harsh days. And I am so grateful to every one of them and their divine healing hands and souls. Each of us as the healthcare professional is responsible to understand the power of our profession in changing people's lives and not take that for granted. We need to be extremely grateful to have the opportunity to be part of this angelic profession which allows us to profoundly influence others. But what is the gratitude? So if you look at the Oxford Dictionary, gratitude is the quality of being thankful, readiness to show appreciation and to return kindness, a feeling of appreciation or thanks. But that's not what we're talking about here. The gratitude is sort of a positive emotion. It makes us feel good. But it's not a simple emotion. It's not like a laughing, happiness, crying, and sadness. It's a very complex emotion. It has components. One of the most important components is that seeking and looking for goods, fortune around us, and then experience it, savor it, touch it, take it in. And then when you have those, it creates something inside of you as a human being, and that the desire to give. And that's a very complex emotion. And it's a social emotion because it has nothing to do with just us. It has something to do with our relationship with others. So it creates more bond with each other. And it's a moral emotion because, as I said, it creates a desire inside of you to help others, to serve others, to give back to them. And that way it is a pro-social and moral emotion. But why does it even matter to be grateful? So let me ask you, tell me again how I'm lucky to be working here. Is that really how we feel every day? So I was reading some of the statistics, and it was not even laughable, but it was sort of sad and disappointment. 64% of people or employees want to leave their work because they feel underappreciated and undervalued. And these are coming from United States and UK. 45% of people don't even like to work in that job, their current job. And 70% of them, they come to work, they clock in, but they're not engaged in their work. 80% of the people that they working, they feel like gratitude will help them, make them feel better. But out of those, just 10% do that. 70% feel better about themselves if they have a grateful boss. And 80%, they said they work harder if they have the grateful boss. So that's, when you look at these statistics, you understand the importance of having culture of gratitude at our work. Because it's not funny, 1/3 of our life, especially during adulthood, we spend at work. And just imagine when you come to the area that you have to be there every day and you don't like it, don't like the people around you, you don't like the culture. It's hard. So that's why it's so important to have that type of culture in our workplace. But why is it so hard? Why there is a gap? Why 80% of people feel that it's good to be grateful and have a grateful culture at work, and then just 10% do it? Because as a human being, we are designed to be negative. We are hardwired to be negative. The negative bias is a tool that we use as a human being to survive. Actually, negativity is something that helped us over the last 150,000 years to be 7 billion people right now. If we weren't that negative, just imagine 150 years ago when you were walking in the forest and jungle and enjoy the weather and the sun and beautiful tree and flowers, all of a sudden, if you were not negative and not careful, a lion or a snake attacked you and you're dead. So negative emotions and negativity helped us to actually narrows our perspective to alert us towards the problems as a human being to be able to solve them, right? But nowadays, we're not worried about the snakes and stuff, so these negativities actually causing a lot of troubles for us. Even during daily work, even at home, everything we look at the negative side of it most of the time. Even if somebody says something nice, we think that might be something going on. Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it creates a lot of problems for us. It creates a lot of negative emotions, frustrations, despair, depression, sadness, guilt. And at work, it creates all these frustrations. So that's why when you go home after a long day of work, the first thing you say to your spouse is that I had a horrible day, right? How many times you go home and you say, I had a perfect day today? Most of the time, even my wife, when she comes in, she says the same thing. Oh, I had a very tough day. I had a very horrible day. Or this, and you always pay attention to one or two episodes that really hurt you that day. When we come home, we pay attention to the negative events, and these negative events are so sticky to our brain. It doesn't let go. Sometimes days we are having trouble to think about the relationship or the interaction that we had with another colleague or our boss or something that happened with our patient, and that stays in us, right? How many times you go home and say, oh my God, I had a great day, and this great event happened to me, and that stays long in your memory. It doesn't happen that often. And that's the nature of human being, and that's why we have this pattern every time at our work, right? Just complain. And positive emotions are extremely slippery. They're very weak in our brain. We enjoy it, we grab it, we understand it, but it just fades away. And gratitude is another one. And sometimes, if you think about the daily changes in our emotion, or weekly or monthly changes in our emotion, we have that little threshold of the happiness, and then we go up and down during the day. And if you're going way up and down, then you're on the third floor, right? So most of the time, the downwards, when you get the bad events or negative events, stay longer. And the good ones, they stay very short.
Why is that?
Tell you right now. Again, it goes back again to our negativity. It's a bias that we have in our brain. Everybody has. Sometimes even good thing happens to us and we look at the bad side of it. We buy a good car. Have you had that thing that you buy a good car and then you come home, you feel guilty sometimes that you're driving the good car. And yeah, some of us. And the other reason that happens is it's called hedonic treadmill or hedonic adaptation. So we get very quickly used to the goods. You know, when you go and buy a Louis Vuitton shoes or bag, it's nice. You enjoy it, you get a little dopamine, you get high, and then after 1 or 2 days, that Louis Vuitton is in the closet. You don't even feel it anymore. But if you have a bad interaction with your colleague, that stays in you days and days sometimes. So the hedonic adaptation is a very well-known thing for human beings. And I think when you think about that, that's one of the reasons actually maybe it's again hardwired within us to help us, to motivate us to find a new thing. But unfortunately, it creates a culture of wanting things. You never get satisfied. You're always dissatisfied with things you have, and you want to get more and more and more. Which, if you look at it one time, from one aspect, is good because it can motivate you to proceed and do things. But on the other hand, it doesn't allow you to enjoy as much. Is that a question?
Yes. So are you saying that we're born that way?
We are hardwired that way. We are hardwired that way. We are hardwired as a human being to be negative. It's called negative bias.
But then if you're not raised that way, can it?
You can change, absolutely. That's the whole idea.
Attitude part?
So the whole idea about personal growth and development is that you can change. You create changes, but it requires practice and it needs effort. It needs intention. You have to have a desire to change. But other than that, if you wake up every morning, you wake up with pain and you wake up with the problems, but in order to be positive and in order to be grateful, you have to practice it every day. And it's hard. It's hard, especially when you come to the environment that is full of pressure, right? We're not working in Disneyland for sure. And we're not working in Ritz-Carlton for sure. Ritz-Carlton, people coming in, they're asking you about the spa and can I get a better room with a view? But here, they're talking about diarrhea, blood in the stool, they're talking about vomiting, and I'm having massive amount of pain, right? So, for us, working, it has to be much harder than other people to be happy. We have to do incredibly a lot of effort during the day in order to make us feel as a happy person. It's very hard because this is all about pressure and pain. Now, it's the concept of the half full or it's half empty, right? We're talking about that concept. But I was thinking about it, what's wrong with this concept, right? So I think that the beauty and magic of a personal growth is that you'll be able one day to see the half empty and then enjoy the half full. If we're able to do that, then I think we'll reach to the point that we can say we are flourishing. So flourishing as far as from this aspect is being able to see the negatives, because we need to solve them. If you don't see the negatives, you can't solve them. And it builds up. So people who are positive all the time, or they try to be positive and then try to ignore the negativities, they actually build up problems and they get disappointed down the line. It's been proven. But if you're able as a human being to see the negative, to be able to solve them, and then at the same time see that half full and enjoy it, then you are at the time, at the place that you can say, I flourished as a human being. So I'm one of those people that cannot ignore the negativities. And we were talking with my wife, maybe you're so aware, more aware than other people when you feel pain more than others, because as you aware more, you see the problems more. And it's not good for us personally, but there's so much you can do, right? That's why the effort comes again. To be able to see this, to try to help and serve others, and at the same time be able to enjoy the beauty of life, the magic of life. On that picture, I showed you the poverty, the lack of water and food, the war. But there's a lot of negativities in this world. It's not just that. The discrimination, the racism, all those things around us, inside of us, and in our culture, that's the painful part of being a human being, right? And the beauty of life does not start or end with the natural beauty, the sun. It's also our friendship, our family, our relationship, our love, our passion. Those are all the beauties in life that we have to savor. And when I say that, sometimes people say, okay, stop it right now. Because we see it, we enjoy it, we sit in the car, we enjoy the sun. But it's a little different when we talk about gratitude. When we said you seek for good, recognize it, and savor it, and experience it. Let me make an example for you. I played tennis for 12 years, and we go to a place, is a private courts, that they have 3 courts, and we play from 6:30 to 8:30 in the morning on Saturday and Sunday. For many years, I went to that place and I played the game. But when I understood and studied these subjects, the next time I went to that court, when I was looking up and I looked at the trees, and all of a sudden I realized the sound of birds and the fresh air, and it was just so beautiful. And it was just so funny to me. And I've been playing that place for 12 years and I never noticed that. Some of the things around us, we don't even notice that. We pass by very quickly. Because in order for you to be grateful, you have to seek purposefully the goods and try to savor it, try to feel it. So let's talk more scientifically now, since we have residents here and all the health professionals. So Dr. Robert Emmons is one of the professors that has been doing grateful studies and scientific studies for many, many, many years. And it's amazing, some of these people who just work on these for their lifetime. It's incredible. And he came up with a lot of books, obviously, but his famous study was the college students that he gathered and put them in 3 groups. And the one group they were writing some journals. The one group wrote grateful letters, and the 5 things that they were grateful every week. And the middle group, they wrote 5 things that were hustle, the problems every day. They wrote that 5 every day. And then another group just wrote some journal, something about weather, something very neutral. And at the end of 10 weeks, they study and their physiologic and psychologic and also social differences. And what they found that people that were in the group of gratitude group, they had better health. What that means is they had a more healthy behavior, did more exercise. They were more connected. They were more resilient to stressful events, and they were goal-oriented, more generous. They were happier and less depressed. So in his study, the difference between 10 to 25%, so was statistically very significant. And he repeated these studies in different groups, in 6th to 7th graders and older people with the Alzheimer's disease, or actually the people who were taking care of the people with the Alzheimer's disease. And then he saw that writing journals and grateful letters, it allowed them to be more happier and have those benefits. And they were happier almost 10 to 20% in that group. And these studies have been repeated over the last 3 decades, and obviously over the last 10 years is more and more people working on these gratitudes. And these subjects, by the way, that I talked to you, these are all overall in the United States. So in big companies, Googles and stuff like that, they're always talking about these things. So it's not coming from me personally. I gathered through the studies and the work of incredible people and researchers that they have been working in the United States. And I tell you, we are sitting in a place that we think the world is just this. But a lot of people are working significantly, trying to improve the lives of other people, workers, in these communities. And these studies also showed and supported those benefits that Dr. Emmons shows in the first place. Having fewer physical symptoms in workers. They were complaining less of neck pain and back pain, the things that we complain all the time, right? Every day or when we go home, they had less discomfort, physical discomfort. So there was actual physical benefits. So they had better sleep. 10 to 20% improved their sleep duration, and even the quality of the sleep was better. They had spent 10 to 20% more exercise during their week and months, and they had less depression, even decreased the blood pressure, systolic blood pressure. I think it has something to do with the stress, obviously. So overall, if you I gathered all of these from the different studies over the last 2-3 decades. The overall physical benefits of gratitude is that they have a better sleep, as I said, lower blood pressure, and more exercise, less smoking and drinking, better healthy behavior they showed, and then less physical symptoms and more energy, more vital, they feel better. The physiologic, psychologic benefits of the gratitude, they were less depressed and more happy, more goal-oriented and attentive. They were more focused on things and subjects that they were supposed to do. More optimistic in life, obviously. It's very clear. If you see the goods, you're more optimistic to life. And less toxic emotion means for us as a human being, it's very hard or almost impossible to feel two completely opposite emotion at the same time. Like be sad and happy at the same time. Okay? Be jealous and grateful at the same time. So these being more grateful during the day decrease the toxic emotions or feeling that bad emotions in the day. That was making sense. And more resilient. Remember, gratitude was one of those ideas that I offered as relieving the stress, because obviously when you're positive, remember the stress, it all goes back to how we perceive the stressful events. So if you're more positive, more grateful, then you recover faster. That's very clearly shown in different studies, that you definitely have a better resilience in the bad events and stressful events. And these are very important for us as a health professional because we are dealing with the stress every day, every moment. Social benefits, very clear. Obviously, it's a complex emotion. It's related to our relationship with others. So when you're grateful, you have more connection, you are more altruistic. Again, it's part of the gratitude that create a sensation of a desire to give, and that's being altruistic. And more compassionate and better relationship and less isolated. Okay. So the benefit, they also studied the gratitude at work, and they have seen the better improvement of the productivity and also the people happiness, employees happiness. They have better decision making and also better management. But what are the obstacles of the gratitude? It's very clear, right? The reason we are not grateful is because of the negativity bias, right? So if we have a negativity bias, when we get up and come to work, before we enter the door, we have this idea and vision that this is a hard day, it's going to be a bad place, I don't like it. Obviously, you're not going to be grateful. That's the obstacle of being grateful. Right? And again, being grateful doesn't mean that you say thank you to if I do something. That's not what we're talking about. It's an attitude of gratitude. It's an attitude of gratitude that I seek beauty and beauty in you, and I enjoy it, and I thank you for being next to me as a colleague and health professional, as somebody that helped me. Then I feel good about helping you and you helping me, and that actually creates the reverse too. When I help you, I create that emotion within you to help me. It's not about me helping you, so I expect you to help me. That's very different. That's entitlement. Okay? That's not the way we talk about. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about doing the good for feeling good. And that results of you helping me and doing good to me. So another one is entitlement, and then suffering. Too much suffering is hard, right? It's hard when you're too much too much pain and suffering to be grateful. When my son was sick, and it was hard for me to be grateful of anything. But it's possible. You can be grateful in a bad moment. You can't be grateful for bad things happen to you. I don't know anybody can do that. To be grateful of the bad things that happen to you, a disease, a cancer, or an accident. But one thing you can do is to try to learn of try to grab what you learned from that experience. And be grateful from that experience, what you learned. But you can't be grateful from the suffering. It's hard. So, again, that's why it requires practice, right? It's not easy. So when we talk, I talk to my wife so many things about different things, and it's one of the other subjects is that every day it looks like a job again. When we come home, we have to be doing effort in order to feel good. And that's true, yes. Of course, there's alternative, right? What's the alternative? Xanax? So you take it and you feel good, right? Drugs, and that's why people do, right? Alcohol, drugs, that's why people do. They can't stand it. They can't change their mind and work, and they're too much suffering, they go through that route. And that's why we have, last year, 90 million prescription of Xanax in the United States. That's massive, right? It's incredible. So some of the things that I gathered, and I think it helps us as a health professional to practice, because I read a lot of studies and a lot of reports of how to do this, and it's not that easy, but some of them I can't do it myself, like writing a journal. Writing a journal every day, you gotta wake up and write 3 things that you're grateful to it. So a lot of people, they think that that's really helps. Just writing it on a piece of paper, not in the computer, not voice mail or something like that. You just have to write it. But it's hard. I don't think I can do it myself. But I can do is that I can remind myself when I wake up and drive into towards work and my values, the values of this profession and why I'm doing what I'm doing. I can remind myself that. That's not that difficult. So reminding the values is incredibly critical. So when it's 2 o'clock in the morning and after a long day of work, I went home at 8 or 9 o'clock and I just had a dinner and I would go to sleep, and 2 o'clock in the morning I gotta come back to the hospital when I get a call from the emergency room. It's hard. But then I tell myself, that's what I've called for. This is my calling. I have to do it. I have to save somebody's lives. It's important. So then it makes you a little bit calmer. Right? So daily reminder of values. And then remembering the positive events. You have to pay attention and have that desire to remind yourself of positives. So if something did a good thing to you, or a good event happened to a patient, you saved somebody's life, you saw a smile of a patient or family, you have to try to remember that in your mind. And again, these requires effort. Remembering the positive interactions with your colleagues and also your patients. And then replacing the negative events with positive ones. So when the sticky negative events, so your boss told you have to change your scrub, that negative thing, it stays in your brain all day. You go home and you try to change that with a positive event. And seeing another colleague that has stayed longer than it was supposed to stay for you, to help you to save another patient. That gives you the relief. It erases that negative event. And discover and accentuate the positive side of events. So when you talk about negative events, a person that is dying, or a person that has a cancer, or every sad stories has a positive side to it. And you, as a health professional, were responsible to find that side and accentuate that for us and for our patients and families. We have to give them hope. That's our job. And acknowledge the kind and compassionate acts and celebrate the humanity at workplace. And we don't do that at all in this hospital, unfortunately. That's very sad. And one of the purpose of this session was to create a place, a location, and a time for people to come in and tell stories about the act of kindness and act of compassion in our job. Things that other colleagues did. Not to recognize the name, because it doesn't matter. I don't want anybody to put my face or my picture on the wall. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about appreciating the act of kindness, the compassion, and telling that story to other people, because telling the story, it helps to generate altruism and desire to help to other people in others. And be grateful for the opportunity to create connection, solve challenges, and serve others. And that this is an opportunity for us. This is an opportunity. If you look at it, it's a perspective. If you look at this job as a pain, then you're going to be feeling pain and suffer. But if you look at it as an opportunity to help others, then you thrive. I promise you, you thrive. And I'm sure a lot of people know him. And he says life becomes harder for us when we live for others, but at the same time it becomes richer and happier. And I don't know what your destiny will be, but one thing I do know, the only ones among you who will be really happy are those who have sought and found how to serve. I'm not even close, and I don't think it's just a handful of people in this 7 billion people can be like him. It's hard to be like him, but at least we can try to be closer to this idea. So, yes, there are two kinds of gratitude. Is a sudden kind that we feel for what we take, and the larger kind we feel for what we give. So I want to end with another thing, another gratitude letter I wrote last week for my profession. So this is letter of gratitude to my profession. I'm writing this letter to express my gratitude to my profession, the medical profession that has offered me an incredible opportunity to serve. Becoming a surgeon has been an amazing gift in my life. It has given me identity, brought me humility and pride, and enabled me to express full life. It feels so great to experience all the possible personal pleasure, to be healthy, achieve personal goals. But contentment in life is not just about personal pleasure, health, success, and achievement. It's also related to our life purpose, our relationships, our contributions to life. Altruism and having a purpose in life beyond our personal goals would provide us a deeper and longer sense of fulfillment. Medical profession has given me purpose and meaning for life above and beyond myself. It has given me the opportunity to engage and connect with others, solve their problems, heal their illnesses, relieve their pain, and give them hope. This is absolutely priceless. I'm so grateful to be able to wake up and go to work and have the opportunity to change people's life on a daily basis. Medical profession has changed my perspective to life. It has allowed me to realize our frailty as a human being and the fact that we cannot survive without each other. It has made me more compassionate towards the human race and allowed me to see our commonality. I'm so grateful to this angelic profession that has given me the opportunity to be proud but humble at the same time and made me who I am as a human being. I'm so thankful to all my colleagues, nurses, and technicians who have assisted me as part of an amazing team to care my patients. I'm so grateful to all my patients who trust me with their lives and give me the opportunity and pleasure of caring them on a daily basis. This is an amazing honor and great responsibility. Life is extremely precious but short. It does not really matter how long you live, but it matters how. Life has taught me a remarkable lesson that how you live is not just about you, your needs, your comforts and pleasure, but it's also about others, your relationships and contributions. In this world, what better contribution is there than helping and healing other human beings? Medical profession has allowed me to be in that position to serve and give, but it is an immense responsibility and therefore need to be performed with authenticity. Medicine for me is not just a job, a career, or even a profession. It's an amazing platform to experience life fully. So I'm so grateful to be in this journey, which has helped me to feel more content even in the midst of my dark days. And this message, I wanted to share it with you because every one of you can see this career or profession the same way. And when you see it the same way, it's not painful anymore. It's joyful. And you create, by feeling this way, you create joy. It's not about creating patient experience and healthcare professional experience. Is not about policies and procedures and bringing A, B, C, D things or rules to follow. It's coming from our hearts. The lacking authenticity at our work. We think the policies and procedures motivate every nurses and every physicians to do the right thing. It doesn't. It doesn't. What motivates us is inside of us, is between us, is among us. That's what motivates us. And it has to be authentic. So, I think you have to create experience for you to feel good, to thrive, and to flourish. And thank you.